What is going on, Jet fans? Matt O'Leary back with another video. I want to get into Todd Downing's comments from his press conference. His first as the play caller of the New York Jets. He spoke about some offensive scheme changes and an underrated part of Jeff Ulbrich's impact. Today's video is powered by BetUS, the official sportsbook of the channel. Make sure to get in on the action and use promo code YouTube150 for a 150% match deposit bonus on your first deposit up to $2,000. You also get 2 additional deposit bonuses of 125%, excuse me, if you want to do that as well. Get in on the action over on BetUS, America's favorite sportsbook. I actually got to give some credit to Rich Cimini here because I think he asked a really good question. It was a hard question, but it was a good question to Todd Downing, essentially asking him is it awkward at all with Nathaniel Hackett still there? Because usually when someone, has their play calling duties stripped away, they're not still with the team, and he's obviously still there. So what does that mean going forward?
With the guy who you replaced in the same room, is that awkward at all? Usually when a team makes a change, the guy who's the other guy's out, but he's still here, and I'm just wondering how awkward that situation is.
I think you're absolutely right that in a normal circumstance, with normal or everyday people, it would be. I can't express to you the respect, the just reverence I have for the way Nathaniel has gone about his business. From the moment the switch occurred, he walked into my office and told me that he wanted to support me and see me succeed in this role, and that the only thing that mattered to him was this offense putting together a good product and us winning football games. He put his ego aside. He is an absolute servant, and it really has been humbling to watch how he's handled this. So I think, most people out there, if they went through what he's going through, they'd make it awkward. He has not. He has stood up and answered the bell in ways that I couldn't even have imagined.
Now, Downing answered, but I did like the response that he had about Nathaniel Hackett and how Nathaniel Hackett has handled all of this. Look, we give him a really hard time, and deservedly so, because he was not a very good play caller for the New York Jets. But if this is really how he handled it, then I think that is a really good sign. And I'm hoping that this change to Todd Downing really works, and maybe Nathaniel Hackett can do something here. Maybe doing something is just, being the de facto quarterback coach for Aaron Rodgers, or, what he's actually going to do on a day-to-day, I'm not quite sure. But again, I think what could have been a very awkward situation probably won't be that because of Hackett's response. Naturally, Todd Downing had some questions about what his offensive scheme will look like, and, it's better to wait and see until Monday night, but something that he brought up was motion and unique formations.
Each week, as you prepare for, the defense you're going against, you look for ways to create advantages. You look for ways to put stress on the defense. Sometimes that'll involve motion, and sometimes that could involve unique formations, things like that. I think it's going to be a week-by-week basis. And as far as how much you can implement in the middle of the season, I think we have a really smart group of players. I think they can handle a lot. But that's going to be a case-by-case basis on how we think we can create advantage.
So on the motion front, there is absolutely no denying that during his time as a play caller with the Tennessee Titans, that he used motion a lot. They were top 10 in motion both years when he called plays, 61%. 61.5 actually, if you want to be technical, which ranked 6th in 2021. And in 2022, he did it 60%, which ranked him 10th. Now, motion rates have gone up year over year. So if he did 60%, that would not crack the top 10 this year. But it's fair to assume that we will likely get an increase. How much of an increase is still TBD, because this is something that Rodgers spoke about that is not one of his favorite things, motion. He kind of likes getting up to the line, reading how the defense is, and reacting off of that. But I do think with the comments specifically from Ulbrich and Woody Johnson and Aaron Rodgers about the needed change on offense, that is one of the areas where they can improve. And I would imagine they do less 12 personnel. The Jets have ran a lot of plays out of 12 personnel in comparison to the rest of the league, and their success rate on 12 personnel plays isn't where it should be. Unfortunately, I don't think the Jets tight end 2 play has been all that great. I don't think, Jeremy Ruckert in year 3 has taken the step that I and many others were hoping that he would. No, it's still a long year, and he could absolutely do that. He's flashed at times as a blocker, but it's been a little bit inconsistent. So maybe there's some more consistency there, or we could see them go with a little bit more 11 personnel, which, let's be honest, would look a hell of a lot nicer with Devontae Adams as opposed to Allen Lazard out there, who leads the league in drop rate for the 2nd year in a row. Todd Downing was also asked about the relationship that he has with Jeff Ulbrich, and I loved his comments here.
Ulbrich and I have a really cool relationship in that I would bounce things off him in training camp. He'd come talk to me, just about style of play and maybe how we've approached things in different buildings and all that. And I think the energy he walks around this building with is infectious to those guys, and I expect those guys to gravitate towards the physicality he likes out of the game of football and the opportunity to create one-on-one battles where at the end of the play who got the best of who, and it's going to be fun to watch that personality kind of emulate through the locker room.
The energy is infectious, and I really hope that is the case. And I think that is one of the bigger factors as to why the Jets made the coaching change. The energy that the Jets were putting out there through the first 5 weeks of the year felt like the final, 15 games of the year last season, 16 games, which is just not acceptable to me. Robert Saleh was billed as this high energy guy when he got here. And I think at times he showed that. And I do believe that he is a player's coach. And a lot of guys, especially the defense, really like Robert Saleh and respected him. But his energy on the sidelines this year and his body language has been atrocious. And I think that rubbed off on some of the young players. So if Ulbrich comes in here and is a high energy guy and keeps that level up and they play that way on the field, it translates to how they play and how Todd Downing calls plays. That's where the difference will show up. I never understood those who would say, well, Robert Saleh is a defensive guy. He doesn't have any impact on the offense, which it's not like he's calling offensive plays, but yeah, he's the head coach. Of course he has an impact. He's the one who put this staff together, and he's the one who had the race to 20-point comments and the play ultra conservative on both sides of the football. And I'm hoping that Jeff Ulbrich doesn't do that. Also, just quickly on Jeff Ulbrich here for a second, if you'll indulge me for a moment, I'd like to go old man yells at cloud for a second. And I know that, this might not be the most popular take, and I think for the most part, I don't mind, but let me explain. Something that we've seen, Sauce Gardner isn't on social media anymore. Breece Hall hasn't been as active on social media. With the comments from Sauce was the too much negativity. He deleted the apps from his phone. It's not like, he's deactivated his accounts. But for me, it felt like this team was very chronically online. And I didn't like that after games and after losses, they were online, posting highlights of their play and fighting with burner accounts of opposing fan bases. And I'm not saying players can't have a life off the field. Sauce Gardner off the field, he is a video game guy and he goes on social media a little bit, and maybe it's a little bit too much, and he golfs and stuff like that. Again, fine. I have no issue with that. Players absolutely need to get away and take their mind off of football. It's not healthy to just be 1,000% locked in, give yourself no mental breaks. That's how things become an issue. But I think, again, the word I'm going to use is chronically online. It felt like it was a little bit overkill, and maybe that, I don't know if I would call it a distraction, but maybe just taking that away or moving away from that might actually be a good thing for this team, and especially those young players. Again, I love Sauce Gardner. I love Breece Hall. They're very talented. I think they get back on track this year. That's just one little gripe that I have. And it's a little bit of a boomer take. I get it, but you can let me know how you feel about that in the comments too. So let me know how you guys are feeling about Todd Downing taking over as the play caller. I'm slightly optimistic. I don't think the Jets are going to turn around and be an elite level offense, but they had probably the worst play caller in the sport. And if they use a little bit more motion and are a little bit aggressive, is there a path to them being closer to a league average offense? I think there is. And if that's the case and the defense is still playing the way that it has the last 4 weeks, they've allowed 17 points or less as a defense the last 4 games and are 2-2 over that span. Defense isn't at fault here. The offense just needs to be a functioning version of themselves. If they're scoring 2-3 touchdowns a game, they're probably going to win a lot more, and it's not going to look like what it did the last 2 weeks where they have a combined 2 touchdowns in the last 2 games. So that's what I want to see. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks again to BetUS for sponsoring. I'm Matt O'Leary, and I'll catch you next time.